Hey, what's good, football fans? Another week has passed us by in the world of college football, and so with this video today, I will be giving out my college football playoff bracket after week 8. And so we had some more big games that took place and some more upsets that took place. And spoiler alert, this bracket is going to get a big time shakeup. So if you look here on the screen, notice in my last video I had the first four out. Well, I thought I'd add a little twist to it here. So if you look in the upper right hand corner here, you'll see the first four out, and those are obviously the teams that are on the outside looking in. And then I've added the next four out. So those are teams that still have a shot, but it's very, very slim. Now, maybe with a little luck, with some of the teams that are on the bubble, uh, that they have a little bit of trouble here, then maybe the next four out can move up. So without further ado, here is my college football playoff bracket after week 8. So I'll start with the first four out. So Indiana, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, and Kansas State. So Indiana, the Cinderella story continues for them. They stomped Nebraska 56-7 this past week. And but the thing is, like I've said before with Indiana, they do have a very weak schedule, and the only opponent that they have on their schedule that's really any good is Ohio State, and they play them here in just a few short weeks. So obviously, if they can compete with Ohio State, and this game is at Ohio State too, I believe, and so if they can compete with Ohio State, I think that they can get themselves into the college football playoff. And then Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame had a bye this week. Now they do have a big game coming up this week against Navy. Now Navy, they're in the fight along with Boise State and Army for that Group of 5 college football playoff bid. And so this is a big game for Notre Dame. And I know that Notre Dame has been used to beating up on Navy, what seems like forever. But I don't think this game's going to be a cakewalk for them. So just keep that in mind. Texas A&M, they continue to roll. They beat Mississippi State this past week. And then Kansas State. So I've moved Kansas State up to the first four out. Outside of that loss that they took to BYU, Kansas State has looked really good. I like their quarterback, Avery Johnson. They're a very good team. And so because of that, I do think that they're still in contention for the Big 12 and obviously in contention to make the playoffs. Now we move to the next four out, and that next four out is Alabama, Pitt, Illinois, and Ole Miss. So Alabama, they suffered their second loss of the season to Tennessee, and I got concerns about Alabama, about the direction that program is headed. And so they got a game coming up against Missouri this week. And Missouri, they've kind of underwhelmed considering the expectations that they had for this year. But Bama, they're still not completely out of the hunt. But, they're going to have to win out. And their schedule does not get any easier. I mentioned Missouri. They also have to go on the road to LSU. They also have to play Auburn in the Iron Bowl, which I know Auburn has struggled this year, but this is the Iron Bowl where anything can happen and anything usually does happen. So just keep that in mind. Pitt, I know that Pitt is undefeated, but they haven't really played anybody. Their biggest win is against West Virginia, and they had to come from behind to win that one. West Virginia is not that good. They've fallen off a cliff. And so now the good news for Pitt, within the next few weeks, they have an opportunity to get some quality wins. They got Clemson coming up. They also have SMU coming up. And they're still in the fight for the ACC. Yeah, I've mentioned before, it's basically a 4-horse race between Pitt, Clemson, Miami, and SMU for the ACC. And then I have Illinois right after Pitt. So Illinois, I like what Brent Bielema is doing with that program. They had a big win against Michigan. I know Michigan's fallen off as well, but still, that team is 6-1 now. and looking very good, and they're still in contention in the Big Ten, and they have a big game. I believe they play Oregon this week, if I'm not mistaken, and so keep that in mind. And then Ole Miss, I know they have 2 losses, but they're still an outside shot, but it's very, very slim. So we'll see what happens going forward. All right, so now we're going to do the first 4 seeds. So these are your automatic qualifiers as conference champions. And we have a new number 1 this week, and that team is Oregon. So Oregon, they stomped Purdue, which Purdue is terrible, so that shouldn't have been a surprise. And that team is playing well. They're starting to click. I know they struggled early in the season, but I like what Dan Lanning has the team. I like the direction that they're going in. So I have Oregon at number 1. Number 2, I have Georgia. So remember, I had Georgia in the first round last week, but they went on the road to top-ranked Texas, and they dominated that game. And so, despite all the controversy with fans from Texas throwing trash out on the field, there's just no place for that. But Georgia, and despite Carson Beck throwing 2 interceptions, they still dominated Texas, and for that I have Georgia at number 2, and I have Iowa State at 3, and they had a bit of a scare this past week too. They played at home against UCF, a UCF team that's really struggled this year, and they had to come from behind to win that one. But nonetheless, that's why these teams are ranked where they are. The good teams just find ways to win. And same way with Miami at number 4. So Miami had a high-scoring shootout against Louisville, and so they got Florida State coming to town this week. That shouldn't be a problem. But then again, in these rivalry games, you never know what can happen. So my automatic qualifiers are Oregon, Georgia, Iowa State, and Miami. And so now we move to the first round, and the 12th seed, it's still Boise State. Like I said, I still think they're the best group of 5 team out there. And they do have kind of a tough test this week, though. They go on the road to UNLV, and UNLV is a good team. And so UNLV, they're definitely going to be looking to play spoiler here. But still, Boise State, a great team. Ashton Jeanty, what a running back this guy is. And so, but yeah, I still have Boise at number 12. And then we have a newcomer to the first round this week at number 11, and that team is BYU. So BYU, they're undefeated. I actually debated putting Iowa State, swapping Iowa State and BYU. Now, these 2 teams do not play each other during the regular season, but it is a strong possibility that they meet in the Big 12 title game. Kansas State is still in the mix also. So, but I like what I see out of BYU. They got some good wins, most notably against SMU, who's starting to come on. SMU is now ranked, and so I have BYU at number 11. Number 10, I have LSU. That LSU just continues to roll, and so I have the Tigers at number 10. They had a big win on the road against Arkansas, an Arkansas team, that's not as bad as their record shows, in my opinion, but they pulled away late and won that game. Number 9, I have Tennessee. So Tennessee, they had that big win against Alabama. I still have concerns about their offense, though. Their offense has been a little underwhelming. Actually, it's been very underwhelming, specifically in the passing game. They got a good running back with Dylan Sampson, so we'll see what happens going forward. But I got Tennessee at number 9. Number 8, I have Clemson. So Clemson, they had another win this week at home against Virginia, and so Clemson just continues to roll. Now they got a pretty tough schedule, tough slate of games coming up. I mentioned they have to play Pitt. They also got to play South Carolina, who's looking really good as well, and possibly Miami in the ACC championship game. And so I have Clemson at 8. Number 7, I have Penn State. I believe Penn State was off this week. They still need to get that quality win, and really the only shot that they have to do that is against Ohio State. And the good news for Penn State is that they're still in the mix for the Big Ten, and they play Ohio State here in just a few weeks. So if they can win that game, they would be making a huge statement. So I have Penn State at 7. Number 6, I have Texas. So Texas, they suffered their first loss of the season at the hands of Georgia, but still Texas is still a playoff team. Now, I'm a little concerned because, as you guys know, Quinn Ewers actually got benched for Arch Manning. And then Arch Manning played a series or two, and then Quinn Ewers came back in. And so the question for Texas going forward is, do they stick with Quinn Ewers, or will they turn the page and go with Arch Manning? So only time will tell. Texas goes on the road to Vanderbilt this week, and that's not going to be an easy game. I mean, they've already upset one top-ranked team. What makes you think they can't upset another top-5 team? So and Vandy is a good team. So Texas, they were number 1. I have them at number 6 this week. And then number 5, I have Ohio State. So Ohio State, they were off this week, and I can't remember exactly who they played this week. Ohio State is still a good team. Their only loss being to Oregon, and that was on the road by 2 or 3 points. So Ohio State, clearly, they're still a playoff team. All right, so that is my college football playoff bracket following Week 8. What does your bracket look like? Who do you think should be seated where, and who do you think should be in? Who do you think should be out, guys? Let me know down below, and as always, thank you so much for watching. And if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on your way out. And until next time, I will see you guys later.